Okay, talk to everybody, Parshat Devarim and the Parshat of Shabbat Chazon. And as we all know, in Parshat Devarim, when Moshe Rabbeinu reviews the entire, reviews the Torah and what happened in the last 40 days, 40 years in the Midbar, he's speaking to the generations about to go into Eretz Yisrael. So he reviews some of the sins, and the opening of the Parsha, he says as follows. He says that the Jewish people have increased in numbers since they went out of Mitzrayim, and he wishes that HaKadosh Baruch Hu should bless them even more. And in Pasuk Yud Bet, he says, Eicha esa levadi tarchechem u'masarechem v'rivchem. He says, Eicha, how can I bear the burden, the responsibility, the conflict that you present if I'm all by myself? And then he goes into how he asked Hashem to help him and to appoint other judges that would help Moshe to lead the Jewish people. And as we all know, Baal Koreh, when he says, Eicha esa levadi tarchechem, how I'm able to, by myself, to carry your bickering and your burden. So he reads it in the tune of Eicha. Eicha, esa levadi tarchechem u'masachem v'rivchem. And of course, over here, there is some sort of hint at, number one, the problem that Moshe Rabbeinu felt when he was in the Midbar, and at the same time, the choice of Eicha, with the tune of Eicha, is to hint to us that there was something in the Midbar which also applied to Bnei Yisrael when they were in the time of the destruction of the temple. Somehow the sins were connected. I'd like to tell you a story that my mother, Imi Morati, she told me the story. May she be blessed. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu give her a lot of priyut and nachas and simcha. So she told us, my mother is Baruch Hashem still alive, and she lived through the Milchemet Yom HaAtzmaut. She was prior to the fall of Yom Ha'atzmaut of Gush Etzion. She was in the kibbutz of Gush Etzion, helping her sister who was there for Sherut Omi. She was there for about 5-6 months in Gush Etzion. And she tells us, the family, the following story. Her sister, her older sister, went to do Sherut Leumi in Gush Etzion. And just one should know that when she told us, other people as well, that you couldn't get a bagrut in Israel at the time if you didn't do some sort of volunteering, mamash, on a very high level. Without that, you weren't granted a certificate, you weren't granted a bagrut. Bekitzur, her older sister went to Gush Etzion, and so she used to correspond. She went as part of Bnei Akiva, and she used to, there was a person who used to, a couple of friends from the SNP used to correspond with her. My family, my mother, grandparents lived in Tiberia at the time. And the Chevra from Bnei Akiva in Tiberia, as I said, used to correspond with Auntie Simcha, Zatzal. Bekitzur, she, I don't know how, I don't remember all the details, but one of the letters that was sent to Auntie Simcha was from a person who used to, who sent her, how are you, describe to us what you're doing, etc., etc. And he ended off the letter with the following: B'yedidut, so and so. B'yedidut means with friendship, with affection, so and so. Anyway, the madrich of Bnei Akiva, I don't know, he got hold of this letter, and he called this person over, and what he did was he said to him, tell me, as a Chaver of Bnei Akiva, how dare you send a letter and you to someone, and the way that you end off the letter is by saying the word b'yedidot, with friendship, and you don't end off with a letter with b'birkat Torah b'avodah, and with blessings of Torah and avodah, right? That's the clarion call of Bnei Akiva, right? Torah and avodah, service, working literally the land, and so my mother says, you see, that is exactly what that was the ethos, that was the atmosphere at that time. What do you mean b'yedidut? Everything was about for the sake of the new emerging state, which was going to happen. Everything was, what do you mean you send off a letter and you send it off with b'yedidut? Is it about you? You end off the letter with Torah, birkat Torah v'avodah. You're sending it to a co-chanich, and she is in Gush Etzion, and you wish her well, and wish her now with blessings of Torah avodah. It's all about the other. It's all about the state. It's all about Am Yisrael and about history. If we go back to amazing times they were, with all those difficulties. Can you imagine such a thing? Can you imagine such type of conversations with what people consider to be as problematic? Getting back to our Parsha, when Moshe Rabbeinu says that at the beginning of Parshat Devarim, he uses the words, he goes back and he reminisces about, and he uses the word Eicha. How could I, he says to Hashem, Eicha, how is it possible that what I do is that I'm carrying the burden of the people? He is hinting at what type of burden, Tarchachem, that they used to complain. That the first time that they complained was about the man. It wasn't enough, people went to get extra. It was all about me. In simple language, it was about selfishness. And as we Shabbat Chazon, Devarim is always Shabbat Chazon. We always read Devarim before Tisha B'Av. We have over here a reminder that every one of us, like my mother, bless her, that she said, there's times that we're able to dedicate ourselves for the greater calling of the Jewish people. And at the time of the Churban, when everyone was about themselves and everyone was about their selfishness and making more money, and each one about their party, etc., we read and we remember, if we could say this, like inspiring story. Our story from ordinary citizen, ordinary people from Bnei Akiva in the 1800s, 19s, and 20s, from Tiberia and in Gush Etzion. And in that way, we are able to metakein. We're able somehow to fix, somehow to bring about the Mashiach, because we've got a clear, you see, we look at history as not something which is meaningless. We've got a plan. Hashem told us the plan. We know exactly where it's going to. And therefore, during this time, the emphasis is on more to be more altruistic, more chesed, and in that way, mematakein, the inyan of the meraglim, the murmurings in the midbar, and also what the reason of Tisha B'Av, which in the end is going to be a Chag. Shabbat Shalom L'Kulam.